I'll put the Pranami mantra on. I'm going to share the screen. Can you all see?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's get started. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshetarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. All right. So I see Rani is there. Hare Krishna Rani. And I see
Hi,
Malvika.
Krishna.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, Malvika. And who else is here? Okay. I think I said hello to everybody else. Okay. So let's start by asking if anybody has any questions. No questions from last week? I'm
Can you
sorry?
remind me what chapter? Can you
I'm
remind me
sorry?
what chapter we're on?
Oh, sorry. Chapter 15.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I should keep sending notes. I keep forgetting to send notes. An email, I mean, to remind everybody
I
where
should
we are.
bookmark my book.
So any questions or comments from last week before we start? Okay, let's get started then. So if you don't have questions, I have a question, which is what do you recall from last chapter? Anybody?
The three modes of material nature,
Yes, yes.
like mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance.
Yes, very good. What else? Anything else? We talked about modes being like ropes, that they bind us to the material world. Anybody remembers that? See a lot of silence today. And that the only way to get out is the process of devotional service, right? They were the main points from the last chapter. So let's get on the chapter today. We all use the term material world very frequently, if not every day. And we know that that's where we live. We live in the material world. And we also know that the material world is a very miserable place. And we also realize that we have to get out. We have to get out of here and go to the spiritual world, because that's where the real peace and happiness is. So in this chapter, chapter 15, Krishna discusses the nature of the material world. What is it about? And of course, once again, he discusses the process to get out of the material world. So you'll probably note that the process to get out of the material world, so-called, or rather devotional service, is discussed in many, many chapters especially starting chapter 6. It's there in the chapters before also, but the real emphasis starts to happen from chapter 6. And in every chapter there will be mention of that. So Lord Krishna gives the example of the reflection of a banyan tree on the banks of a river. And he says that material world is the reflection of the spiritual world, just like there's a reflection of the tree or a tree on the river, the water of the river. So, has anybody seen the reflection of a tree in water? Yeah?
Yes.
What does it look like?
What's a banyan tree?
Oh, I'm sorry. Banyan is a tree which is considered very sacred. And actually, because you asked, I'm going to give you some history of how it got its name, which is very interesting. So, you know how we have 4 varnas? We have the Kshatriyas, the Brahmins, Vaishyas, and the Shudras, right? Somebody please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the Vaishyas, which are basically the business community, in Gujarat, which is a state in India, on the west side of India, that's where Mr. Modi, the current Prime Minister, comes from. Anyway, so there and also in many other places, the business community is called Baniya. That's Hindi word, Baniya. So you can think of it as Baniya. It's a Hindi word, but that's how you would spell it if you were writing it in English. And they used to do their trades under this tree. And so therefore, somehow or the other, this tree started being called Banyan.
That's
And
very
then
nice.
the English pronunciation of that is Banyan. So that's the history of how it got its name. But it's a very sacred plant, and I'll talk a little bit about the tree. I'll talk a little bit more about this. I'll show you a picture of it also.
Does it exist in North America?
Yes, it does. And I'm going to show you a picture from North America, actually. So I want to keep you a little bit of suspense until I show you the picture, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay? Okay, so it's banyan tree. But I mean, let's talk about any tree. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be banyan tree. Has you seen the reflection of a tree in water? Any tree, doesn't matter. Nobody has seen it?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me, what does it look like?
Like a shadow.
It spreads.
Okay, spreads. Okay, what else?
It's inverted.
Inverted. It's upside down. Right? Everybody agree with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So and that's the main point of this, that this is it looks like it's upside down because the roots are pointing upwards and the branches are extending downwards in the reflection.
Downwards.
Right? So he says that just like that, material world is also a reflection of the spiritual world. And therefore, it appears upside down and backwards. So if you've seen your reflection in a mirror, your left side looks like right side looks like left side, right? And if you ever
Yes.
tried to, those of you who are not a dentist, if you ever tried to touch your tooth in one place, looking in the mirror, you probably know how hard it is. Or try touching a spot on your head, looking in the mirror, and see how hard that is. It's because it just looks weird. It's backwards. So it's the tree, the reflection is same way. Okay, but that may be so, but you will agree that the reflection is real. The water is real, and the tree whose reflection we're seeing is also real. Agreed so far?
Yes.
None of them is imaginary. But what we see in the reflection, like the fruits, like the branches, the leaves, they are illusory. They don't exist. Agreed? So the contents of the reflection are illusory. Are you with me? Somebody said no.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now I have to ask you a question. What is the reflection of the tree situated on? What's the reflection of the tree situated on? In other words,
Water.
water, exactly. So the reflection of the water, sorry, of the tree is situated on water. Similarly, what is the reflection of the spiritual world situated on? I'd give you a big virtual hug if you know what the answer is. Sorry, who said?
Soul.
I'm sorry, couldn't hear.
Shraddha, Bhakti.
Not really. I wish that was true.
Soul.
No,
Faith. Is it
not
also a
really.
reflection of the real tree in the spiritual world?
I'm sorry, say again.
Is it a reflection of a real tree in the spiritual world?
Oh, no, that's true. That is true. We already said that. What we're asking is, just like the reflection of the tree in water is situated. Sorry, yeah, is situated on water. What is the reflection of the spiritual world situated? In other words, what is the basis of existence of material world? Like if you didn't have that, you will not be in the material world. If people didn't have that, there would be no material world.
Is it your karmas?
Close, very close. So it's our desires. It's our material desires. Because remember, why did we come to the material world? Because we developed these material desires. So that is situated on the desires of material desires. That's important to know because when we talk about how we get out, we'll come back to this point. Okay? Hopefully it's not confusing so far. Feel free to ask any questions if it's not clear. Okay, I don't see any hands, so I guess I'll move on. So as I was saying, material desires are the cause of our existence in the material world, which is an exact replica of the spiritual world. In the sense that everything that exists in the spiritual world also exists in the material world, just in a perverted way. So that's the thing about everything being backwards and upside down. Whatever exists in the spiritual world exists in the material world, but it's a perverted reflection. So maybe that will become a little more clear if we talk about some of the examples we can think of that are backwards in the material world. Can you think of an example of things that are backwards in the material world compared to the spiritual world? And if you need a hint, let me give you one example. In the spiritual world, it's good to be servant of a servant of a servant. Das, dasanudas, correct? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Good, thank you. In the material world, is that true? That
No.
everybody wants to be, so what's true in the material world? Everybody wants to be
The
the
boss,
boss.
the CEO.
Exactly right. So instead of being dasanudas, in the material world, everybody wants to be boss-anubas. And the bigger the boss, the better it is. The spiritual world, The bigger the servant, means servant of the servant of the servant, the better it is. So that's one example. So I'd like you to think of any other examples you can think of, so we get a feel for what we're talking about. Anybody?
In the material world, the mode of goodness is important when compared to others, but in spiritual world, it doesn't matter about the goodness because that is part of the material nature.
Correct. So in the spiritual world, we are above material mode of goodness also. We only have mode of
But that
pure.
reflection.
Sorry?
Will that be a reflection of the material? That's what I'm thinking. That came to my mind, but with a question.
Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. So you're right that the mode of goodness also does not exist in the spiritual world because that's material. So let me give you some other examples. In the spiritual world, along the lines of what we were just talking about, we like receiving instructions and following them. How many people do we know in the material world who like to receive instructions instead of giving instructions? Right? So same thing. About same thing as. In the spiritual world, everyone is humble. We are the humblest. In the material world, people are puffed up, arrogant, proud. Even when they want to say they're humble, they say, I'm the humblest. There's no one humbler than me. Right? So the pride shows even in that. Somehow, I have to be the best. But best means better than anybody else in the material things. In the spiritual world, we say, no, I'm the worst. Right? So thought process is very different. In the spiritual world, everyone agrees that everything is owned by Krishna. Krishna is the proprietor of everything. In the material world, we say, no, I own it, I earned it, I bought it, I acquired it. Right? We make the real estate agents very rich because we like to buy property so we can own it. Right, Shilpi?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. We like to control things in the material world. In the spiritual world, we say, no, Krishna is the controller. Krishna is the supreme controller. Right? In the material world, we keep competing with Krishna for proprietorship, for controllership, for enjoyership, and all those kind of ships. We are big ship owners in the material world. Right? In the spiritual world, no, there's only one owner of everything. In the spiritual world, it's full surrender. No desire to control anything. You fully surrender to Krishna. He's the control. Right? In the spiritual world, we are always trying to please Krishna. Who are we trying to please in the material world? Anyone?
Ourselves.
Ourselves, exactly. It's all about me. It's all, and that's why there's so much competition, so many fights, because everybody's about themselves. So the interest conflict. But in the spiritual world, everybody's trying to please Krishna. It's all about Krishna. So everybody's focused on making it all about Krishna. The best thing I like, I'm being sarcastic, but the best thing I like in the material world is we have control over one thing and we have no control over anything else. So what is it that we have control over? Anybody remembers? What's that only one thing?
If we want to serve Krishna?
Yes, exactly right. Whether we serve Krishna or Maya, that's in our control. That's called free will. Having decided we want to serve Maya, we have no control over anything in our life. But what do we hear people say? When Krishna wants, then I'll be going to the temple. But for everything else, I want this, I'm going to do this. I did that.
Prabhuji,
Yes. Yes, Puna Mataji?
yeah. But Prabhuji, I think without mercy of the Krishna, I do not control my.
No, actually, Mataji, what happens is you're right,
Yeah.
but how does one get mercy of Krishna? Because believe it or not, Krishna's mercy is there, just like the sunshine. It's there for everyone.
Is the Krishna mercy is the everyone?
Let me finish. Krishna's mercy is available for everyone. He doesn't distinguish. He doesn't say, I'll only give to Poonam Dhawan, I will not give to Rupanuga. He doesn't say that. No, I'm just saying, his mercy is for everybody. The one who gets it is the one who accepts it. So for example, if there's an announcement that anybody who comes to Vancouver Temple on Thursday will be given $1 million. No questions asked. Who will get that $1 million? Only the people who show up. There will be many people in Vancouver that say, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the temple. It's not worth it. And then they'll complain next day, look at this. Vancouver Temple did not give me $1 million. How
This is a Maya, na, Prabhuji?
No, Mataji, stay with me for a second.
Okay.
The point I'm making is, if you don't go to accept $1 million, you will not get it. But Vancouver Temple was willing to give it to anybody who wants it. Right? Then whose fault is it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry?
Yes. I understand.
You understand? So and this is how we are. So if Krishna says or else sees that I'm expressing my desire to serve him, then out of his mercy he allows us to serve him. But when he sees he's willing to do this, but you're not willing to accept it, okay, that's fine. That's your free will. And that's the difference. Do you understand, Mataji? Is it clear?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
anybody else has any doubts about that point? So she's right in that you need the mercy of Krishna, but you also need to accept that mercy. Okay?
I have a different question.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Okay, these are the explanations given by Krishna to Arjuna, right? I mean, in what context Krishna started explaining to Arjuna?
So remember, he was talking about the modes of material nature in the previous chapter, right? And he's referred to material world through many chapters. So now he's saying that I want you to understand what is the process for getting out of this material world. And for that, you also need to understand the modes of material nature. So we already understood a little bit in the previous chapter. Now it's going to give further explanation, but more in the context of the material world. So it's like the bigger picture now, as opposed to individual trees.
He's going deep into the concepts.
Deep and also, like I said, a broader picture about the material world in general. What is it consisting of, and how do you get out, and why is it so difficult to get out? All those things. Okay. As we go through the chapter, you will see that he does that, and then you understand that yes, indeed, that was the case. Okay. Any other question, anyone? Okay. All right. So let me share. Sorry. Let me share the picture of the the tree, which is upside, not so much upside down. I think I know what I want to say. The tree that we're looking at is upside down, but does anybody know where the roots are of this tree?
At the top.
Yeah, where is that top? What do you call that place?
Brahma.
Brahmaloka, yes, correct. So Brahmaloka is the topmost planet in the material world. Above that, the spiritual world starts. So the roots are at that boundary. Because remember, above that, the real tree starts. So the roots are kind of joining, if I can use that term, the real tree and the reflection of the tree at that boundary. Right? And that's also important to know, because when we talk about how to get out, well, there's only one way: go through the root. Because the root is at the top, and it connects to the root of the real tree, and then get to the real tree. Is that concept clear?
Oh, sorry. Can you re-explain that part?
Yes, of course. So what we were saying was that this upside down tree, its roots are up. The highest point of this reflection tree is the roots, correct? But this is where the roots of the real tree are also there, because the reflection starts from wherever the connecting point is, right? Is that point clear?
Yes.
Right. So I mean, all you have to do is like take a little bit of a plate of water and put a pencil there, and you'll see the reflection and the real pencil connect at the point where the pencil is touching the plate. Can you visualize that?
Yeah.
Right. The same thing. So the root of the real tree is touching the root of the reflection, because that's the starting point. Clear? Yes and yes?
Mhm.
Okay. Don't say, oh, it's not clear. I mean, I'm happy to explain it five more times. So yes, clear?
Yes,
Okay.
clear.
All right. Okay. Then let me share the screen, and we'll talk about the banyan tree that Melanie was asking about. Okay. Has anybody been to Maui? No, I guess no. Okay. So this in Hawaiian Islands, one of the islands is called Maui. So we were there, I don't know, about 10, 11 years ago. And there's a place in Maui where there's one banyan tree.
Yeah.
That one banyan tree is on 3/4 of an acre. One banyan tree. And the picture you're seeing on the screen, are you seeing a picture on the screen? This is one banyan tree, the same banyan tree I'm talking about. So what's happening? Let's see. Do you see my cursor, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure which one is the main trunk, but what happens is the roots go up, hang from a branch, and come down. And then they go down and then go to another one, then to another one, to another one. So these are all roots that have been connected to the branches. This is all one tree, believe it or not. The whole thing is one tree. 3/4 of an acre. So you can imagine how strong this tree must be. And all these roots are connecting to the tree, holding on to the tree. Right? Now imagine if these roots were your karmas. They're holding on to this tree, making it stronger. What does that mean? Increasing your attachment to the tree, your karmas. Is that concept clear?
No. Can you repeat that again, please?
Sure. This tree is being held up by so many what looks like stems, but they're roots. They're connected to the ground and they're supporting the tree. The stronger the roots, the more this tree is supported, right? So these are representing the roots here, the secondary roots. They are not, this is the main root, the secondary roots, right? They're representing your karmas. So this, the more karmas you have, the stronger these roots are. And this, the more they're supporting this, they're connected more strongly to the tree. Which means that the more fruitive activities we do, the more karmas we have, the more tightly we are attached to the material world. So this tree is representing the material world. Right?
Right.
Okay. All right. So let me try to explain that a little bit more. So, as I was saying, the secondary roots are our karmas. And as you saw, those roots are pretty deep and they're pretty strong. And they bind us very strongly to the tree, which means our existence within the tree is even further guaranteed. And as long as we are engaged in fruitive activities, now who knows what's fruitive activities? Anybody?
More attached with the material. We want more material things.
Right,
We want
right.
new house, new this and that, more food of it.
Correct. So we want the result of our activities.
Yes.
They're called fruitive activities. So as long as we are engaged in fruitive activities, we'll have karmas, correct?
Yes.
And as long as we have karmas, we'll remain attached to the tree. And the more karmas we have, the more strongly we are attached to the tree. Right?
Got it.
And as long as we are attached to the tree, we continue to wander from branch to branch to branch without any understanding of where the tree begins, where it ends, and therefore we never get out of the tree. So you saw, I couldn't even tell you where the starting of the tree was. I have no idea. And when you see it in real life, it's huge. Like 3/4 of an acre is huge. I had no idea where it started. And if you think about it, as if you're a small person sitting on that branch, you can't see the end of it. So you don't know how to get out. It's like if somebody has ever been lost in a forest, it's very difficult to know how to get out because everywhere it looks the same. So Krishna says that only if you give up the attachment, which means get rid of the karmas, so the roots are destroyed, and developing knowledge of how to get out, can we get out of this tree? And he says, remember, Bhakti Yoga is the topmost process of breaking this attachment. And he says, we have discussed that in many chapters, 7 chapter, 8 chapter, 9 chapter, 10 chapter, 11 chapter, right? So Bhakti Yoga has been discussed almost every chapter. Says, that's the only way. There is no other way.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
So the primary root, which is the main branch, is it that root only connected to the Brahmalok and the spiritual world? It's just that root?
So direct connection is with that root.
Okay.
But indirect connection is with every root because they're all attached to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're not the touching point is there, but still they're all attached. Right?
Okay.
All right. So Krishna says, okay, let me explain you a little bit more. In the 14th chapter, we also talked about where the demigods live, where people in the lower species live. Anybody remembers? We said higher planets are the residence of the demigods, right? In the middle, the earth planet, etc., the animals, the human beings, they are living, right? And in the lower planets, all sorts of other forms are living like Nagas and so on and so forth. So this tree is the same way. The upper branches, you have people like demigods living. In the middle branches, you have people like, people living. And the lower parts of the tree, you have the lower species. So he says the concept is the same. Okay? And then he says, by the way, let me ask you, what nourishes the tree? How do you nourish a tree? What do you supply to it to nourish
By
it?
giving water.
Water, exactly right. So the tree is nourished by water, and this material world is nourished by modes of material nature. So the water to the material world is modes of material nature. And without getting too much detail, I'll just give you one other example. Does everybody know what a twig is
No.
on a tree?
Like a branch twig?
I'm sorry?
Like a twig on a branch?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you have branch, and they have little things sticking out, little thin things on which you have the leaves and all that.
Yeah.
That's called a twig. Okay. So these twigs are like sense objects. Who knows what a sense object is? I don't want to throw technical terms without making sure you know what I'm talking about. So sense objects is like things we can see, things we can hear,
Feel, yeah.
and feel, and touch, and all those
Five
kind of things, right?
senses.
Yeah, exactly.
Touch.
Yeah, that's right. So so twigs represent the sense objects, and the branches represent the senses: eyes, ears, nose, etc. So the senses are connected to the sense objects, and that's what causes our attachment. Because our senses get attracted to good music, Bollywood, Hollywood music. Eyes get attached to some beautiful form, right? Some hunk or some beautiful girl, whatever, right? What was I going to say? Nose wants to smell something nice. Tongue wants to taste, tasty things, and it could be anything, and so on and so forth. That connection is there. But the stronger the connection, the more the attachment. Okay, so he's saying, well, that's how it's happening. And the other thing is that what we enjoy depends upon our modes of material nature. Does everybody understand that concept? So, for example, a person who's in mode of goodness may not enjoy what a person in mode of ignorance enjoys. Can you think of an example? Something that a person in mode of goodness will not enjoy, but a person in mode of ignorance will enjoy.
Sometimes
Yes.
people use meat as an example for this.
Sure. Meat, wine, liquor, and other bad habits. People in mode of ignorance enjoy. Sleep is another one. People in mode of ignorance like to sleep 12 hours, 14 hours. People in mode of goodness, 6 hours is enough. Right? So many examples. The point being, different modes of material nature, senses in different modes of material nature enjoy different sense objects. Right? And then whatever senses we have been given, according to modes of material nature, correspondingly we enjoy different things. Right? Let me know if it's starting to get too much detail and it's starting to get confusing, because I will make it shorter. Somebody speak?
You're good.
I think it's fine.
It's fine, okay. Malvika?
I said you're good.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm good, or what I'm saying is good, or both?
I think both.
Okay, good, thank you. Right answer. Okay, all right. So the other thing is, somebody says, okay, I'm sitting in this tree, I want to know what the real tree looks like. Well, you can't perceive that from this tree. In other words, you cannot perceive the spiritual world living in the material world. Nobody understands where this tree begins, where it ends, where its foundation is, etc., etc. The other thing we must understand that, like any reflection, this material world is temporary. Does everybody agree it's temporary? Okay. This is not our permanent home.
Yes.
We're not from here. And we are here today and gone tomorrow. Right?
Tomorrow.
Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
But here's the funny thing, that we still try very hard to make this world a permanent home. Don't we? We do everything as if we're going to be here forever. And to understand how foolish that is, just imagine somebody checking into a hotel. You go into your room and they start painting the walls, buying new furniture for the room, refit the bathroom, hang up family pictures. Like, would that be not ridiculous? I mean, you don't make arrangements for long-term comfort in a temporary residence. And this world is like a hotel room, but we're still making plans for long-term comfort in a temporary place where we know we're going to be here only for a short time. This world is like that hotel room within which, for whatever reason, we're making complicated plans for security, and for enjoyment. And
Prabhuji,
then we
the
become
only
attached.
difference is, I think, Prabhuji,
What?
I think the only difference is we know the checkout date when we go to the hotel. We don't know what is the checkout date here. That's why.
True. It could be taken either way. It should be, hey, it could be tomorrow. But of course, we like to think, no, it's 100 years from now. But the problem is that 100 years from now, we still say it's 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, we all know there is a checkout date. We don't know what that is, but there is checkout date. So it will end. By the way, how's the sound quality today? I keep hearing these comments that the
There's a
quality is not good.
disturbance. The disturbance. I think someone forgot to put the mute on.
Is everybody mute? Maybe I can ask.
When you speak, there is a noise come at that time.
Yeah, Prabhu, I think it's your microphone on your kurta.
Oh, really?
So when you're moving, it's moving and it's making sound.
Oh, maybe I'm moving too much. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay. We'll try to be still. It's hard for me to.
No, you can just keep away from the kurta, so it would be fine.
Okay, how's this?
Are you recording?
Yeah, this is very good.
That's better.
If you are recording, then the audio is not good.
Yeah, no, I'm recording because some people are not able to
That's
make
why.
it.
Now it's better, Prabhuji.
Okay, then I'll just hold it. So maybe it was my kurta. Yes, thank you. Okay, all right. So, sorry, where were we? We're talking about the checkout date. So I think we covered that point. Right? Was there another point?
We don't know when we are leaving. It's for
Right.
100 years.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we always think it's far away, but we also all know that it's not always far away, regardless of what age we are at. But regardless of, even if it's 100 years, even if it's 150 years, it's still temporary. That's what we have to remember. So making long-term plans is not a very smart idea. So Krishna is saying that we should become detached from the material world and develop the desire to re-enter our real home, which is in the spiritual world. So therefore, to do that, we must learn about the origin of this tree. And the origin of the tree, as we can all imagine, is Krishna. And the place where Krishna lives, which is the spiritual world. But how do we learn it? Who do we learn it from? So that's why we have the scriptures. We have our acharyas. And we have our senior devotees. So people like Rupa Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they have left lots of scriptures for us to learn from. And devotees like Srila Prabhupada and senior devotees in ISKCON and so on and so forth are there to explain it to us. And we need to learn it from these people. And we should also understand that to know Krishna is really to surrender to him. And to surrender to Krishna is to know that we are not the controllers and that we must get rid of the material lust and false pride. And of course, the false proprietorship. So the controllership, proprietorship, and enjoymentship or enjoyership. We got to get rid of those. Without that, we cannot surrender. And without surrender, we cannot get to know Krishna. Okay? All right. So then Krishna gets into the difference between spiritual and material worlds. What is the difference between the two worlds? So, I mean, in a sense, they look similar from a distance. But the biggest difference is that the spiritual world is where there is reality as opposed to falsehood, or as opposed to temporary nature. Spiritual world is eternal. It has substance. There's no substance in the material world. And therefore, the true satisfaction is found only in the spiritual world. In the material world, if there is satisfaction, it's temporary, and a lot of times it's artificial. The reflected tree of the material world, or you could just say material world, is complicated, it's intricate, and it's completely topsy-turvy. It's upside down. The roots are upwards and the branches go downwards. The other funny thing is that people are frantically searching for juicy fruits on the reflected tree. They see the fruits on the reflected tree and they dive into the water to get them. What do you think happens when they do that? If you dive into the water to get the fruit you saw in the reflection, what will happen? Anybody?
You'll get nothing.
It's not there.
Get nothing, it's not there. All you're doing is increasing your chances of getting hurt, or if you're not a good swimmer, drowning. But you get no fruit. Certainly you get no juice. Excuse me. So every time you do that, if you do return back, you'll return back empty-handed, which means no satisfaction. And there's a very simple lesson in that we're looking for the right thing, which is happiness, but we're looking in the wrong place. There's no permanent happiness in this material world, regardless of how hard you look. And that reminds me of a story about a man who drove into his home garage, got out of the car, realized there's no light in the garage. So as was fumbling to find the switch, he dropped his car key. It's pitch dark in the garage. He can't see his key. So what does he do? He comes out and goes on the street where there was street light on. He starts looking for his car key on the street. So a couple of people came over. They started asking him, say, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for my keys. So they spent next half an hour looking for the key on the street. Of course, he didn't find it. So they said, where did you drop it? And the man says, I dropped it in the garage. So they got really annoyed. They said, so why are you looking for the key on the street if you dropped it in the garage? I said, because there's no light in the garage. That is how stupid it is to look for a juicy fruit in the reflection. It's not there. You're going to spend the rest of your life diving in and diving out. But there is no juicy fruit in the reflected tree. It's just an illusion. So there is no juicy fruit in the material world. It's just an illusion. For the real fruit, we must go to the real tree, which is the spiritual world. So Krishna urges us to cut down this illusory tree with the weapon of detachment. Because any efforts, any endeavor for permanent fulfillment in this world, which is temporary, is futile. And by the way, there's no process for detachment. The detachment comes from becoming attached to the devotional service of the Lord. So don't go looking for a process to become detached. Rather, look for a process to become attached to the Lord, to the Lord's service. Any questions or comments? No? Okay. All right.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm just going back from whatever you said. So the end point, or the place where the reflection touches the root,
Right.
is the Brahmaloka, is what you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also said root is the only way to get out.
Because it's upside down.
Okay.
Because
But
remember, you can go as low as you want. It's still material world. So you have to go up.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. But so that doesn't mean to get out of the material world, we have to go through Brahmaloka. That doesn't mean that.
Well, it does mean that. Because if you're going to cross, it's like, for example, you're in GTA, you live in GTA, right?
Mm.
If you want to go to Detroit,
Mm.
you have to either go through Windsor or through Sarnia,
Okay.
right? We can't avoid that. So that's the end point of the material world. If you want to go to the end point of the material world to get out, you have to go through that.
Okay. So this root, or this tree, is like not comparable to the steps of the or the yoga ladder, whatever we saw, right?
Oh, no, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
That's the totally different concept. Now we're talking about, as you said, bhakti yoga is the only process. So you have to get to bhakti yoga. I mean, all those things that we talked about, they're still in the material world.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, all those yoga practices are doing in the material world.
Okay. Okay.
So
Right?
Okay.
Some of them.
Maybe this is where I'm getting confused. Brahma Nifaljas is not same as Brahma Loka.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's not.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Brahman Nifaljas is the light.
Okay.
Brahma Loka is the planet where Lord Brahma resides.
Okay. Okay. So maybe that is the that is like one more question. So should, if we want to get out of this material world, should we cross Brahma Loka, or should we be like should we be Brahma?
Okay,
I mean,
I think I understand your confusion. So we're trying to conceptually talk about this tree. It's not a real thing.
okay.
Like we're talking about a concept to explain how everything is upside down in the material world. There's no tree. Even the real tree we're talking about, there's no tree. Like spiritual world is not a tree. This is just an example being given to help you understand the concept. So don't start thinking as a physical thing.
Okay. Okay.
Right? I'm sorry if I confused everybody. It's just an example. Just so we understand how everything is upside down and a replica of the spiritual world.
Okay.
It's not really a tree. Okay, there's no such thing as tree of spiritual world. It's not like that. It's just conceptual, just so you understand the whole concept about how everything's upside down, about illusion, reflection, and all those kind of things. Just to help you understand.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe like I like difference between Gnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga.
Mhm.
So like at least like I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I know, I understand Gnana Yoga, is it reading scriptures and getting to know more things about spiritual world?
No,
Okay.
no. Gyan Yoga is more like speculating. It could be like this, could be like that. Yeah, you do read the Vedas, for example, but even there you try to speculate the meaning of what it's saying.
Okay. Okay.
And you don't believe, or at least you don't know for sure what the form of the absolute truth is. So ultimate conclusion you come to is that it's just a energy, is power, is light, or something like that. No form.
Okay.
Gyan yogis don't believe Krishna has a form.
Okay. Okay. So if we are following Bhakti Yoga, that doesn't mean we should not read scriptures.
No, it means you should read the scriptures. Reading scriptures is like remembering Krishna. So 9 processes of devotional service, one of them is remembering Krishna.
Okay.
So definitely part of devotional service. You must read. Not you should or should not. You must read the scriptures.
Okay.
Especially Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, those books. Must read every day.
Okay. Okay. So reading scriptures is not Gnana Yoga.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
All
I
right.
think I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Please. I mean, I really appreciate that he's asking questions. So anybody else, if you have questions, please ask.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes.
The spiritual world, I think you said in previous classes, like the spiritual world and the material world, both are parallel, right?
No, I would say platform. That's different from world. A spiritual platform and material platform, they're parallel lines.
Okay.
So that's different from world.
Okay. So this, I was just comparing the parallel of the platforms with the concept of reflection. So, yeah. No, I forgot actually what to ask. So.
Okay, but it comes back to ask. No worries. Okay. Okay. So then Krishna talks about what does the spiritual world look like? And he shows that the spiritual world's nature is perfect, is complete, and is fully satisfying. Once we go there, we never return to this material world. And because of the presence of Brahman effulgence, the spiritual world is self-illuminated. Doesn't have sun or moon or fire or electricity, or nor does it need them for illumination. And Brahmajyoti is simply the effulgence of the body of Krishna. Okay, even the sun gets its effulgence from the Brahman effulgence. And as you know, moon gets effulgence from the sun. Right? And you know also that as long as we are in this material world, we are in conditional life. But as soon as we reach the spiritual world, we become liberated and no longer conditioned. And once we go there, as I was saying before, there's no chance of coming back here. In the conditioned life, we think we are the Lord of the material world. But in the liberated world, or the spiritual world, I should say, in the liberated state, when we are in the spiritual kingdom, we become an associate of Krishna as his servant. And there we enjoy the eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge. And then Krishna finally defines who we are. What is our identity? When I say we, mean the living entity, the soul. And he says that you, the living entity, is eternally fragmental part and parcel of me. So fragmental part and parcel means we will have the same qualities as Krishna. But because we're a very small part, anybody remembers the size of a soul? What's the size of the soul?
And if the hair is cut into like million pieces or 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, so 10,000 pieces. So it's 1/10,000th the width of our hair. Okay? And my joke is that if that means that if your hair is thicker than mine, then your soul is fatter than mine. Which is just a joke, it's not true. Okay? All right. So we can think of, and I think we discussed this before one day. If you take a spoonful of ocean water, there's no difference in the quality of the water in the spoon and the quality of the water in the ocean. But the spoon is very minute compared to the size of the ocean. So similarly, we are very small compared to Krishna. So we have all the qualities of Krishna, but in a very small amount. And because Krishna is supremely independent, we also have independence, but only in very minute amount. And it is the misuse of that independence that has made us conditioned. So does anybody remember how we misused our independence? Anybody remembers that?
You mean because we said we wanted to serve ourselves?
Yes. Yes. So we said, no, Krishna, we don't want to serve you. We want to be the boss. So he said, okay, then you have to go in a state of dream, in a world that's temporary, like a dream. And he called it material world. And that's how we ended up here. So we screwed up. It's our fault. Can't blame it on anybody else. And
So that's
as
why
we,
we need to like build Krishna's trust back in us, right?
correct, exactly right. And what's the best way to earn somebody's respect? Or sorry, respect or trust? What's
Do
the
what
best?
they ask you to do.
Done exactly right. Do what he asks you to do in a very humble, non-demanding attitude, right? Always trying to please that person. And it doesn't take one try only. It takes a lot of tries. It's a lifetime commitment. And then you get the trust back. So it's the same thing. And how does Krishna trust or does he test you? By the agency of Maya. So all the things that happen to us, especially the bad things, the so-called bad things, are a test by Maya to see how pure we have become. And sometimes she gives us good things to see how pure we have become. In other words, if we become multi-billionaire and forget Krishna, and say, you failed the test. Because you thought this money was for you. You became puffed up, failed, F, go back or stay back. Right? So different ways of testing that Maya has. But we're being tested all the time. Okay? And our life, the conditioned life in the material world, is dominated by modes of material nature, as we discussed last week. And the modes of material nature make us forget Krishna. As a result, we have to struggle very hard to maintain our existence in the material world. We're always working very hard, either to make money or to buy some happiness or buy some peace in our life, and going from one species to another species to another species. One life we are a skunk, another life we are human, another life we are a rat. It just goes on forever. Talking about that, then Krishna moves on to the topic of reincarnation. Who would like to tell me what reincarnation means? Somebody, please. What does reincarnation mean?
Being born again.
Being born again, exactly, very simple. And Krishna says that as we are going from one body to another body, we are carrying the different conceptions of life from one body to another body. And it gives the example of just like the air carries aroma. So for example, you're standing in one place and the wind is blowing from a garden towards you. There are lots of fragrant roses in the garden. You would actually smell the rose because the aroma of the rose is being carried by the air. You did not go to the rose did not come to you, but the air brought the aroma to you. So similarly, all the conceptions from different bodies we have had are being carried to the next body. And because of that, we always have the choice of changing our body to a higher or lower grade. So change of our body, I should say change that our body undergoes, depends upon us. Krishna says in chapter 8, and we talked about that at the time of death, the consciousness we have created will carry us to the next type of body. Remember in 8th chapter he said, Antakalecha mamayev ismaran mukta kalevaram, and then followed by saying, Yam yam vapi ismaran bhavam terit anta kalevaram. He said, whatever we're thinking about at the moment of death, whatever our consciousness is, that's the body we'll get. And if you're thinking about Krishna, then we go to Krishna Loka. Similarly, if I've made a consciousness like that of a cat or a dog, we're guaranteed to get a cat's or a dog's body. On the other hand, if we have fixed our consciousness on godly qualities, then we take the body of a demigod. And if we are in Krishna consciousness, we go to Krishna Loka or go Lok Vrindavan, guaranteed. And there we can associate with Krishna as his servant.
I think that's the concept that I know you explained it, and you explained it really well when we did the chapter, but I find it difficult because if your mind is focused on Krishna when you die, and then you're supposed to go to Godhead, but if you have a bunch of karma left, you can't go to Godhead. So I know you said that your mind wouldn't be fixed on Krishna when you die,
right?
If you're not in a pure state,
right?
And I have a hard time wrapping my head around it because I guess I just want the easy way out, where the
lot of
Krishna
people
when I
do.
die.
Lot of people do. But look at it this way: what's the state of your mind? Well, you wouldn't know, but I'm just saying, make a guess, or maybe you've read about this. What's the state of mind of a person at the moment of death, or maybe even few minutes, few seconds, few hours before death? It's very
Is it
disturbed.
fear? Yeah.
Fear is very disturbed. And there are stories of people seeing the Yamadutas. And they look very horrible, very fierce, and very uh, fearful, not fearful, but the people who generate fear in you, that make you very fearful. And then you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be leaving everything behind. All my property that I worked so hard for is going to be left behind. All the millions of dollars in my bank is going to be left behind. And my wife I love dearly, she's going to be left behind. And my children, my God, what's going to happen to children? I mean, the mind just goes crazy. It's in a very disturbed state. It can't think straight. So your training comes in. It's the reflex action only. So whatever you have trained your mind to do at the moment of a danger or fear all your life, that's what the mind will do as a reflex action. You can't teach it to do something that you're not taught it to do before at that moment. And that's the problem. In theory, it's great. In theory, it's great. Let me do all the sinful activities. Let me have a great time. Let me have fun. At the moment of death, I'll say, Krishna, and I'll go to him. It just doesn't happen. If you've never taken Krishna's name in your life, you won't think of him at that time.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
This question will keep coming as we hear, but still keep coming, even though we know that bit of answers follows. Like, for example, okay, we are in this material world now. In this age, we will think of the retirement things. Okay, if we don't do, okay, if we don't secure our retirement life, then we will suffer during the retirement life. I'm just giving the real-time example. So even though we know the answers, like, okay, there is no need to do, being in the Krishna conscious is the ultimate, but still we will work on those retirement, the materialistic, all those things. So do we need to really think of those securing our life towards the retirement, or I mean, just leave it to Krishna and just say, okay, and no need to think of all those, and Krishna will take it of us. But still, our effort is also required towards that, right?
So it depends upon the level of your faith. If your faith is so strong that Krishna will take care of me, then Krishna will. But our problem is our faith is not that strong. So we work. But what we don't understand is that we can work all we want, but we'll have only what is according to our karma, our destiny, at the time of retirement. But look at it this way, everybody likes to save for their retirement, but they're able to save different amounts. As a matter of fact, there was a survey done in Canada, and 54% of the people said they do not have enough savings for their retirement. So more than half. They all know, but they don't have it. Some do, and then after retirement, they lose it all in the stock market, which happened to people I know. A little bit happened to me too. Not disastrously, but a little bit happened to me too. But a lot of people, it was disastrous. So they worked all their life. They saved all their life. But when they needed it, it's not there. And that's the point. Whatever Krishna's planned for you will happen. We just don't have that much faith. So I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying don't save. I'm just saying that whatever is available to you when you need it is Krishna's plan. It's your destiny. And you have no control over it. Our ego does not allow us to accept that very much. And that's a problem. Our training doesn't allow us to accept it, that what if I don't save them? How do I know Krishna will provide? And I can give you real life examples of how Krishna provides. Real life examples of people I know, even my own life story. I can tell you how Krishna provides. When he thinks you deserve it.
Yeah.
right? So for us, yeah, go ahead, work, save, but still there are no guarantees. Okay. Did I answer your question, bro?
Yeah, bro. The thing is, as we start working towards that, I mean, we will think, okay, go in the flow, but still we will start involving more into that, and which becomes the materialistic. Yeah, you have already answered that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Anybody else? Okay, all right.
So
I
basically,
have a.
okay, sorry, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
Oh no, mine's like a little off topic. I was just going to ask. There's a lot of devotees who joined in the 70s who must be retiring now. Are there any like Hare Krishna retirement homes anywhere, like in
No,
India or?
no, not really. That's an issue. That's an issue, and there's actually a broader issue that we can discuss later. But yeah, it's an issue.
Okay.
So when we're looking for more, I mean, I'm acknowledging that it's an issue, and there's nothing there. Okay, all right. So let me move on because we're getting close to the time, end time. Okay. So as I was saying, that at the time of death, our consciousness carries us to the next type of body. And we talked about cats and dogs and Krishna himself. Then whatever body we get, it's according to our karma. And in due course, we'll have to quit that body also. And this just goes on. Then, as you know, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. No, three types of bodies we have. Does anybody know what they are? We all have 3 types of bodies. Or did you know that?
Gross, subtle.
Gross, yes. And what is?
Subtle.
Sorry, Krishna, I can't hear you. Did you say subtle?
Subtle.
Okay, yes. So
Yes.
gross and subtle, that's 2.
And other one.
And the original transcendental form, the body of the
Oh,
soul,
yes.
right? So you all have three types of bodies. So the original form, which is called transcendental body, is covered by subtle body, which is covered by the gross body. Gross body is 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. You can see that, right? You're all seeing our gross body. Inside is the subtle body, which consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego. And it is the subtle body that carries the conceptions of life from one body to another body. And then when you get the new gross body, according to our karmas and according to our modes of material nature, as I was saying before, we get certain type of senses like the eyes, the ears, etc. And correspondingly, we enjoy a particular type of sense objects. That's the cycle of reincarnation. So how do we develop Krishna consciousness? Krishna says that you can develop it by appreciating Krishna as the provider of basic things. Really basic things like the sun, the moon, the fire. I mean, they're the fundamental resources that provide the energy of life. You may remember from 7th chapter, we were saying, Krishna says, I'm the taste in water. I'm the mountain. I'm the ocean. So everything is Krishna. So if you have that consciousness that everything is Krishna, then we can develop this Krishna consciousness. And if we develop our consciousness further and say, we cannot survive without these basic fundamental resources like the sun, the moon, the water, the fire, then our appreciation for Krishna grows. Krishna also says that I'm the fire of digestion. So without Krishna, we cannot digest. And he says, I'm the air of life, both incoming and outgoing. And it's the fire of digestion that helps us digest the food we eat. And he mentions there are 4 kinds of food. Anybody knows what the 4 kinds of food are? Any idea?
Sattvic, tamasic, rajasic.
No.
No.
That's different category. Talking about
Okay.
4 types of food. So one is you can chew the food that's chewed, food that's licked,
Liquid.
sucked, or drunk. Like somebody said, liquid. Okay, they're the 4 kinds of foods. So the fire of digestion helps us digest all 4 kinds of food. And then he reminds us, don't forget, I'm sitting in your heart as what? How is Krishna sitting in our heart? What form?
Paramatma.
Paramatma, very good. So he says, I'm sitting in your heart as Paramatma. And as Paramatma, I'm giving you the knowledge, the remembrance, and forgetfulness. This is the Paramatma that makes us forget things or remember things. You probably have had experience where you get a flash and you get knowledge about something you didn't think you knew. And sometimes you can't even remember the name of your brother or your best friend or your teacher or the verse that you've repeated a million times in your heart. So that's all coming from Krishna as Paramatma. And finally, he says that he is the object of knowledge of the Vedas. He is the compiler of the Vedas, meaning that the object of reading the Vedas is to know him. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And then finally, he says, or rather reminds us that we have fallen into this tree of material existence because of what? We discussed this before. Anybody remembers? Why did we come down to the material world?
Because
Anybody?
we wanted to serve ourselves.
Yes, we wanted to enjoy. We wanted to enjoy independently of Krishna. And we had a choice. We talked about this also before. We had the choice. The choice was to serve Krishna and consider him as our master, in which case we will remain in the spiritual world and we never have to come down. And we will be known as eternally liberated. Or the other choice was to misuse the independence and make the wrong choice of wanting to become masters, controllers, and enjoyers. And those of us who did that, which is all of us here, we fell down into the material world. And we are known as eternally conditioned souls, as opposed to eternally liberated souls. We are the ones who are entangled in this upside down tree, going from one branch to another branch and struggling for our existence.
Prabhu, you know how you said before that when we go to the spiritual world, we wouldn't want to come back to the material world. But in the past, we made that decision. Is that because now we know the difference? If we
Well,
need to go
so
again?
yes, good question. So what they say is, it's a little bit of controversial, but what they say is that we're never really inside. We were at the door. The door where entry was the spiritual world and outside was the material world. We're standing at the door. And we could have jumped inside or we could jump outside. So those of us who are eternally conditioned, they jumped outside saying, we want to enjoy. And those of us who are eternally liberated, they said, no, we want to serve for the enjoyment of Krishna. And we remained in the spiritual world. And Krishna says very clearly, once having gone there, you never return. So this is in this chapter actually. It says very, very clearly, once having gone there, you do not return. So once we go there, we're not ever forced to come back. people like Srila Prabhupada, they are advised, requested by Krishna to go and liberate the other people. That's different. It's not forced to come. We are forced to take another body. It's not a choice. Does that answer your question, Melanie?
It does. The door makes sense.
Okay. Like I said, it's a controversial response because different people will tell you different things, and all the responses have some holes, and that's why they're controversial. But I find this is the most plausible explanation, so I just use that.
I like controversy.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, and then finally Krishna says, it doesn't matter whether you're in the spiritual world or the material world. I'm the greatest in both worlds, and I'm worshipped in the both worlds. So those who know better accept that and worship me. Those who don't, they suffer eternally in the material world. They never get out of that reflected tree. And thus end the purport by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami of chapter 15. I just added that. Questions, comments, corrections, realizations. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Baba.
Hare Krishna Krishna.
I just want to say, you're doing amazing. Because this chapter, I mean, it's really important, and at the same time, you have concised it so nicely that even if you entire chapter, if you listen to your lecture, it's good. The big chunks you will know. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the comment. Anyone else? Any questions, comments, corrections? Okay.
This is a Krishna blessing. This is a Krishna blessing. We are observe your lessons or lectures.
It's a Krishna's blessing that I'm able to serve you, Mataji. That's my privilege.
No, this is our, because the end time we are concerned. You asked today's lesson. In the end time, how
can we remember
like,
Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard,
Go
Mataji.
to your lecture.
Thank you.
It's too hard. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you too much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you. Any other questions?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know when the Toronto temple is going to reopen, or has it reopened at all?
So
I know it's off topic.
No, it's okay. It has reopened partly on Sundays only, and you have to book your visit. But there are lots of slots available, and you should have gotten an email which said you can sign up, and immediately they send you confirmation, and you can go and visit in that time slot. The 15-minute time slots. If you don't have that email,
into the deities.
I'm sorry.
And you can go into the temple room to see the deities.
Correct. And if you don't have that email, let me know if you don't have that email. I'll send you, forward you an email. And using that email, you can register yourself, and you'll know. You can actually pick a slot that's available and suitable to you, and you can go and visit the temple at that time.
And is Govinda's open?
Yes, Govinda's open actually. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Anju Mata, you were going to ask a question.
No question, Prabhuji. It was a very nice class.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us the class.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you. It was nice.
Thank you. Okay, so no more questions. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna,
ki
Pitashri.
jai.
Thank
Hare
you.
Hey,
Krishna.
Nandimukhi, how are you?
Yes, I am good, Pitashri. I have just very small question.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
17 to 23rd of September is very auspicious day for everybody. But please, can you give some tips? We can celebrate is very good.
Okay, so you'll have to tell me whether what is it?
17 to 23 is word holy name is Prabhupada appearance day.
Oh,
17
okay.
to 23rd. But can you give some tips, please? How can we celebrate is very good.
Well, so I mean, first of all, there are seminars arranged for every day of that week. Some very powerful speakers are participating. Once again, if you don't have the schedule, I can send it to everyone, and
Okay.
you can plan to attend those seminars. That's one. The second is, basically listen to classes. There's so many classes, wonderful classes available. Like we spend pretty well all day. The moment we wake up, I get my YouTube on and listen to somebody's class. The amazing classes by amazing speakers in ISKCON. And it's better than listening to the news or some other nonsense.
Okay.
And so we should make a habit of doing that anyway. But this particular week is even more important that we hear. It's a Shravanam week. That we hear the holy name, we hear about the pastimes. So you see, I mean, there's different kinds of kirtan. There's Nam Sankirtan, which is the singing, chanting of the holy names. There's Leela Sankirtan, which is hearing the pastimes of the Lord.
Okay.
Right? And then you have Nagar Sankirtan, which you cannot do, but you can do Nagar Sankirtan over Zoom. You can do Zoom Sankirtan. And we are doing that also regularly. We get together with a whole bunch of people. We take 15-minute slots and everybody chants 6 bhajans or Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Okay, thank you so much, Pitashri.
So there's so much choice these days. Actually, if anything, there's overabundance of the choice.
Okay, good.
So by all means, use this opportunity. But this week should be to encourage you to do this every week.
Okay, good.
And if nothing else, everybody must be spending some time in the washroom. Right? So take your cell phone, put the YouTube on. For 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever you spend there, you're listening to it. So there's no extra effort.
Thank you so much, Pitashri. Thank you so much. Yes.
And same thing when my wife cooks, she has this on. So she's cooking and she's listening. So they're easy things we can do.
Good. Thank you so much, Pitashri.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. That was a very good point.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna.
see you next week. Chapter 16 will be covered next week.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you again.
Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.